Okay, so we're going to start with this particular question. So I'm just going to gauge from you guys. Thumbs up. Are we all okay on how to answer this question? Are we able to? Do we understand the graphs? Thumbs down if you'd like me to explain. Okay. All right. Kanyo says no. All right. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there in your exam when you start. So let's put some things in place so that we start in the right place. Step number 1, zoom in. Okay, I'm zooming in. There we go. Otherwise, I'm not going to have space to write, my darling. Okay, step number 1 is always to read the information you've been given. Make sure that this thing that's written up here corresponds with everything that's on the picture. Okay, sometimes it doesn't. But while we're reading that information, you'll see we're going to pick up on a lot of the things that we should know about each graph. So let's start from the beginning. It says here, we are given f of x is equal to x minus 2. What kind of graph is that? Let's start there. What kind of function are we looking at there? Sorry, Gift. Good, it's a linear function. It's easy. It's a straight line graph. And we have a straight line graph here. We know that straight line graphs come in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So in this case, we know that our gradient is 1. Okay, lovely. Hello, Jaden. No worries. It's just great to see. I don't think I saw you on Monday, so it's good to have you. Okay, so we know that that is y is equal to mx plus c, and our gradient is 1 because x is on its own, therefore 1x. All right, let's move on to the next one. We see here g of x is equal to 3 over x. What kind of graph are we looking at? Jaden, this is paper 1, my darling. What kind of graph are we looking at here? 3 over x. Good, it's a hyperbola. Okay, good, it's a hyperbola, right? And once we see that it is a hyperbola, we need to think of all the things we should know about a hyperbola. Okay, so hyperbola is, we need to remember that we have, now I'm writing hyperbola, instead of reminding us that we need asymptotes. Okay, guys, what else do we need to know about a hyperbola? There are certain things that we need to know in order to draw it effectively. The straight line graph is easy. We've been doing those since grade 9. What else should we know about a hyperbola? Okay, there are asymptotes. What else? Anybody?
We should find the x and y-intercept.
Good. Absolutely. Always, always. X-intercept, y equals 0. Y-intercept, x equals 0. Okay. Now, in this particular graph, it's going to be a little bit difficult because we don't have an x-intercept or a y-intercept. I'll show you guys why in just a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to pop this out over to the side in just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go g of x is equal to 3 over x. Now, the original, or the one that we know, normally does this. It goes g of x is equal to a over x plus q, right? So in this particular one that we have up here, we don't have a q value. So what is our q value over here? What can we put there as the q value in this particular graph? Good, Narisha, that's it. We can put a 0 there. So this is technically 3 over x plus 0. Right. Now, if we remember our graphs on, or our rules on hyperbolas, we'll know that this x value over here, one of our asymptotes is x cannot equal 0. And the other one is whatever the q value is, right? The y asymptote is whatever the q value is. But now, if we look at this particular graph, our q value is 0. So our two asymptotes are going to be where x cannot equal 0 and y cannot equal 0. Are we all okay with this idea? Yes, thumbs up. Do we understand what ma'am means here? Good. So these are our two asymptotes, right? But that's also quite problematic, right? Because if x cannot equal 0 and y cannot equal 0, then we're not going to be able to find any intercepts. Okay. Am I making sense? Yes, thumbs up. Because in order to find the x-intercept, I need to make y equal 0 but y cannot equal 0. And in order to find the y-intercept, I need to make x equal 0, and x cannot equal 0. So that means my graph doesn't touch the x-axis or the y-axis. So the only thing we're going to be able to rely on here is that value, 3. Okay, yes, ma'am, Abu. What does this 3 tell us? Remember, normally it would be the a value. What does the a value tell us? If the a value is greater than 0, something needs to happen. And when the a value is less than 0, something needs to happen. Yes, good. When it's greater than 0, it means positive numbers. What do we know about a hyperbola that has a positive a value? It has something to do with, I was about to say, something to do with the 4 parts of my graph. Okay. So this then would mean quadrant 1 and quadrant 3, or quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. Now, in this case, we know that A is positive, so it's going to be in quadrants 1 and 3. And we can see, based off of the graph that they've given us here, it's in quadrants 1 and quadrants 3. And our asymptotes are the y-axis and the x-axis, just like that. Okay. All right. Let's keep reading. It says here, A and B are points of intersection. What do we know about points of intersection, guys? What do we remember? Something specific happens at a point of intersection. Jaden, I'm happy to chat in a little bit, but there is something that I want to get past. Okay. Okay, yes, good. Okay, Narisha's onto something that, yes, good. So point of intersection means that my f of x must equal g of x. Okay, they must be equal to each other. Okay, where f of x equals g of x, or if they give you g of x and h of x, g of x must equal h of x. Okay, sure, I can try that, Kanyo, yes. Okay, I'm happy for that. All right, so point of intersection always means where the graphs meet, which means they're equal to each other. All right, it says DF is perpendicular to the x-axis, so that's why they've put that 90 degrees there, with points E and F on the graphs of G and F, respectively. Okay. Sorry, I just don't want to make it messy. Okay, let's start with some of the simple things that they're telling us here. Let's look at 3.1.1. I'm just going to ask you guys, thumbs up. Are we able to answer 3.1.1 and 3.1.2? Can we do that at least? Are we okay there? Yes? Okay, I'll give you guys some time. I'll give you guys about 4 minutes. Shouldn't be that difficult. Okay, I'm quickly just going to minimize, and then I'm going to try and find some probability questions for just a second so that we can work through those a little bit later, Kanya. Okay. Narisha's already done. Well done. Okay. All right, my darling. No stress. I got you. Okay, Kanya's done as well. Excellent. Everybody else, how are you guys doing? Sorry, Gift. Hope we haven't completely traumatized you from maths. I feel like Gift is a little traumatized by the mathematics. All right, let's have a look at these questions quickly. Okay, so the first one is quite easy. It says, oh, sorry guys, my screen has just gone funny. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. All right, the first question says the coordinates of C. Now, if we look at C over here, we can tell that C is on the straight line graph, and it's the point where it crosses the y-axis, that is the y-intercept. So the coordinates of C, y-intercept, x will equal 0, and then If I know y is equal to mx plus c, that's just -2 there. Easy mark. All right, so here it says the coordinates or the x coordinates of A and B. Now, if we look at A and B, there's A and there's B. I can see that at the points A and B, both the straight line and the hyperbola are there, which means these are points of intersection. This is the point of intersection. Okay, and because those are the points of intersection, I'm going to take my two graphs and I'm going to make them equal to each other. So for 3.1.2, I'm going to say f of x is equal to g of x, and that will help me solve for that. All right, so now I know f of x isn't just f of x, it's actually equal to x minus 2. So I'm going to replace f of x with x minus 2, and that will equal 3 over x. 3 over x. All right, and that's what we're solving for. Okay. Oh, yes, Abu, you need to tell us once I'm done here in just a little bit. Okay, all right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for an LCD. I know that my LCD is x, which means I need that part to be over x, that part to be over x. So multiply by x, multiply by x, multiply by x, multiply by x. Okay, I'll check it out in just a second, Abu. I just want to quickly finish here. All right, so at the top there, I'm going to get x squared over x minus 2 times x will give me 2x over x is equal to 3 over x. And remember, the nice thing about equations is that as soon as everything has the same LCD, we can just drop the LCD. We don't really need it. So the sum that we're actually working with is x squared minus 2x. And now I know there's a squared. So that 3 needs to come over so we can factorize the trinomial. So x squared minus 2x minus 3 will equal 0. And then I can either pop this into my calculator or I can do some quick factorization. It's a trinomial. So this would be x minus 3 and x plus 1. Therefore, the x values must either equal positive 3 or x must equal negative 1. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't lose anyone. Are we all good here? Thumbs up. Are we okay here? Okay, Desmarie, where did I lose you, my darling? Please explain to me. I don't want to leave you behind. Okay, let me see what Abu suggests here. Is equal to the root of a and the root of a plus q. B is equal to negative root a and negative root of a plus q. Okay. I've never seen that before, Abu, but I'll definitely look into it. Okay, from the second part, which part? Is it this part here where I've got times x and times x? Is that it? Give me a thumbs up if that's okay. All right, okay. So I will rewind a little bit. Okay, so over here, I've taken f of x and I've made it equal to g of x. Now, the problem is that there's an x in the denominator, but I've got three terms here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the other 2 terms into fractions. So this becomes x over 1, and this becomes negative 2 over 1. Okay, now these are 3 fractions with a minus in between them, which means I need to find an LCD. Does that make sense, Desmarie? Are you okay there? Okay, good. So my LCD will have to be x because the others are just 1, right? So if my LCD is x, then to get to my LCD, I need to multiply by x here, and what I do to the bottom, I'll do to the top. Times x, right? And then the same on this side. I need to get to x in that denominator, so multiply by x here. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Okay, and that's where ma'am ends up with that equation, right? So x times x will give us x squared, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and 3 already had the x as a denominator, so I don't have to multiply it by anything. So that just stays 3. And once they all have the same denominator, if there's an equation, if there's an equal sign in between them, and they all have the same denominator, we can just drop the denominator. Okay. That's okay, Abu. Is that okay, Desmarie? Are you okay with what ma'am did there? Excellent. Yeah, I'm going to look it up. I feel like there is, yeah. I know the shortcuts for the parabola. I don't know the ones for the hyperbola. Okay, good. So we found the answer here for 3.1.2. Okay, I just want to check with you guys. I want you guys to have a look at this particular question here. It says they want us to find the length of EF if OD is equal to 6 units. Thumbs up, do we know what to do? Thumbs down, do we not know what to do and need them to help? Okay, I'm seeing quite a few thumbs down. Okay, all right. So the information they've given us here is actually quite important. Okay, my darling. Okay, so they're telling us that OD, let's start with this information. OD is equal to 6 units. Now, if I go and I look for OD, OD is from here to there, right? Now, D sits on the x-axis. What is the y coordinate of D? If it sits on the x-axis, what is its y coordinate going to be? 0, good, because it's an x-intercept, right? So y will equal 0, right? Now they're telling us that OD is 6 units long. So obviously that means my x value will need to be 6 because the distance from there to there is 6 units, which means my x value is 6. Are we okay with that? Thumbs up? Good. Okay, good. If it's 6 units long, my x value then is 6. All right, but now EF, I'm going to remove this intersection over here. Now EF is a straight line that goes up that way. What will every single point on this line have in common? Let's say we get to that point where we've moved to y is equal to 2, right? Where y is equal to 2 because we've moved up. What will the x value be? Good. The x value at that point will be 6. Even if we go up here, let's say, for instance, the y value over here is 5. What is the x value going to be? The x value is still 6. Good. It's still going to be 6 because they're all sitting on the same vertical line. Right. So when they tell us that we want the distance, the length of EF, we can see, if we look at this line properly, we can see that both E and F are sitting on that line. So what are the x coordinates of both E and F? The x coordinates are both 6. Are we okay with that? This is 6. This is 6. Good. So when they tell us that they want the length of EF, they're not talking about the length from the x values. They want to know what is the difference in the y values. Like how high up is that part of my graph? Okay. All right. Are we okay with that? Sorry, Narisha. It's okay. Some people feel comfortable unmuting. Okay. So now the important thing here is if we're working with y values, then we know that my y value for the straight line is f of x, and my y value for the hyperbola is g of x. Is everybody okay with that idea? Yes, I feel like maybe I must explain it again. Okay, so when we give you something like f of x is equal to mx plus c, we know that the f of x part actually stands for y. So in this case, because we are comparing a y value and a y value, we know that we've got f of x and g of x. That's what we're comparing. Now, if we want the length, we want the length of EF, we know that the straight line is at F, which is above the hyperbola. It's above. Good, Narisha, there it is. The straight line is above the, the straight line is above the hyperbola. So basically what they're saying is take the y value of the straight line, which is f of x, and minus the y value of the hyperbola, which is g of x. Completely did that wrong. Okay, so we're just going to then minus the one from the other. So we're going to say f of x minus g of x. Okay, And this is the hard part about interpreting graphs. It is quite difficult. Okay, so I want us to put the equation together. So I'm going to put it over here, 3.1.3. I'm going to take f of x, and I'm going to minus g of x. Okay, now, oh, excuse me. Now, f of x, f of x is x minus 2 minus 3 over x. But now, here's the thing, guys. We know what the x value is. What is the x value? What x value do they share? 6. Good. Good. So all we're going to do is we're going to go into this formula and we're going to substitute x with 6 because we know that the x value is 6. So that's all we're going to do. If x is equal to 6, then we can find an answer. Okay. And I'll admit, this one was a bit of a far-fetched question. Okay, I'm so tired. It's hard to keep the information. I know, Sia. You know what? That's how I feel every day when I'm still teaching and you guys are not writing exams, because some of our kids haven't started exams yet. So it's a bit draining. But we're almost there, guys. Last push. Okay, let's go ahead and substitute. Give me an answer, guys. What do we get? We're just substituting x with 6, and we're giving ma'am an answer. This is, not a difficult question at all. I'm looking at something like 3.5, 7 over 2. Yeah, that's it. Because we'll just get 6 minus 2 minus 3 over 6. That is 4 minus a half, and that will give you 3.5, which is 7 over 2. Okay, so the distance between E and F, EF, is equal to 3.5 units. Okay, this was a tough one. Okay, can I pause here quickly? There's a particular type of question that I want us to have a look at. It's a bit oblong, but if you were there in the final boot camp when ma'am was trying to explain that functions are kind of a play off of each other. The x and the y kind of work together. They're not two separate entities, and we're working with the x coordinates and we're working with the y coordinates. We're actually putting them together. Okay, so I want us to have a look at this question over here. And then once you've read the question, I want you to put in the chat for me a number between 1 and 10. 1 being, I don't even know what to do. 10 being, I could do this question easily on my own. I'll be fine. True. True, Narisha. Okay. All right. Okay, all right, guys. Lucia's at a 2. That's okay. That's okay. Abu at a 0. No way. No way. I know, I can feel it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of explaining, but that's fine. Let's do that, because I don't know, for some reason I feel like questions like this are getting quite popular. I have to teach quite a few of them to my kids as well at my school. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try and explain something again. Okay. So I'm going to make up a function. So I'm just going to go f of x is equal to 2x minus 5. Okay. Now, I know that if I choose any value for x, I'm going to get a y value out, right? So if x is equal to 1, I know that I'm going to replace every x I see with 1. So I'm going to get f of 1 is equal to, I see another x, 2 times 1 minus 5. 2 times 1 minus 5 is negative 3. So that tells me that when x is 1, y is negative 3, which gives me this. 1, negative 3, the coordinate that we actually get. Now, if I tell you guys, if I say this instead, let me see, I just want to do the math quickly. Okay, if I tell you guys, if y is equal to negative 1, now we've got to work a little bit, right? Which part represents y? Y is represented by the whole function. Yes, correct, right? By f of x. Y is the function in x, right? So I know that I need to go there and replace all of that with -1. So I'm working my way backwards. -1 is equal to 2x minus 5. If I take that over, that becomes +5. So 4 is equal to 2x, and then we divide by 2. Therefore, x will be equal to 2. So that gives me the coordinate where x is 2, y is -1. All right. So now, if I tell you guys, if I take this exact example that we've just used here, and I tell you guys that when f is equal to 1, that would give me, or when f of x is equal to 1, or when x is equal to 1, the function in x will equal -3. Okay, I want us to note what happened here. I have gone into this function and I've replaced x with 1. Do we all see that? Yes, thumbs up. Are we okay with that idea? Right? Good. So if I had gone through that whole process, I would have gone in here and I would have replaced x with 1, and I would have come out with -3. So technically, when they say that f of 1 is equal to -3, that means I've replaced x with -1 and with 1, and I got -3 out as an answer. Okay, same as if they say f of 2 is equal to -1. What they're telling me is I went in and I replaced all the x's with 2, and I came out with -1. Does that make sense? Thumbs up. Are we okay there? Okay, cool. Because this concept is actually kind of important to understanding functions as a whole. Let's look at the question they've given us here. So it says, the function h of x is equal to k to the power of x plus q. What kind of graph are we working with, grade 10s? What kind of graph? I'll give you a hint. X is the exponent. X is the exponent. Therefore, it needs to be an exponential graph. Okay. When the thing that we're using as a function is the exponent, then it's an exponential function. Good. So this is an exponential function. Then you need to remember everything you need to know about an exponential function. We know that q is the asymptote. It only has an x asymptote, no y asymptote. Sorry, a y asymptote, no x asymptote. Okay, so that's the y asymptote there. All right, so let's go read the information here. It says, that's okay, guys. Okay, the information says, the function h of x is k to the power of x plus q is described with the following properties. It says that k needs to be greater than 0, but k cannot equal 1. Give me an example. Give me an example. Give me an example of what k can be. 2. Good. K can equal 2, a positive number that's greater than 1. K could equal 3 over 2, as long as the number, that's it. K could equal 8, as long as it's a number greater than 1 or greater than 0 and not 1. That's perfect. All right, so we know that k is a positive number. How does that help us? Okay, how does that help us? We know that if k is a positive number, my exponential graph needs to increase. It needs to do that. Okay. If that's a positive number, my graph needs to increase. Okay. Then let's go to this next part, because this is the most important part I want us to remember. It says here, h of 0 is equal to -7. Does anybody want to unmute and re-explain for us what h of 0 equaling -7 means? What did I replace this with? What did I replace there? Okay, good, Abu. I get what you're saying. I just want somebody to try and explain it the way that I've just explained it. Okay, all right. So I know that normally I would get h of x is equal to something, right? Now I've replaced x with 0. And what answer did I get out on the other side? I got -7, right? But that's a coordinate. Is that not a coordinate? It is, right? Yes, because that's an x value and that's a y value. So I should get x and y. like that. So my two coordinates are going to be 0 and -7. Now, Abu, we can come in with what you've said because it's quite important, right? It's quite important. When x is 0, when do we make x 0? When we're looking for the what? The y-intercept. Yes, the y-intercept. The y-intercept. Right. So when x is 0, it's when we're looking for the y-intercept, which means this -7 is our y-intercept. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you guys then, look at this one over here. Look at this part over here. Give me the coordinates of that, please, in the chat, and tell me what it means. What are we thinking? What are the two coordinates that that particular function gives us? Anybody got an idea? Yes, absolutely, Narisha, you're right. I've taken my x value and I've replaced it with 3, and my input, my y value, came out as 0, right? So my coordinate will be 3, 0. What does that tell me? What is that?
X-intercept.
Beautiful, good. This is our x-intercept because our y value is 0. So this is the x-int. X-int. And Abu, you're spot on. You've just swapped them around, my dude. Other way around. Okay. Other way around. Okay, good. So, and then it says to us, it has a horizontal, this particular graph has a horizontal asymptote at y is equal to -8. Which value is that? Which value in my graph is that? It's the q value, right? So they've just told us that q is equal to -8. Okay, so they're telling us all the right things because what they want us to do is draw a neat sketch. That's what they want us to do. They want us to draw a nice sketch. Now, they've gone backwards about asking us how to do so, but the information is still there, packaged in what they've given us. All right, so let's draw our sketch because this is now easy. We know that k is a positive number, therefore I must have an increasing function. And I also know the two x-intercepts. Oh, I'm sorry, I know the x-intercept and I know the y-intercept and I know the asymptote. So I can absolutely draw a graph. Okay. I'm sorry, I know, Gift. Guys, November is tough for everybody. All right, I'm going to go to -8 and I'm going to draw my asymptote. Dot, 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 dot. And then I'm going to add in my two values. I'm going to add in my y-intercept and my x-intercept. My y-intercept is at -7 and my x-intercept is at 3. And then I just need to draw an increasing function. I need to draw a better looking increasing function because, yeah, you guys know all about Mam's art skills. All about art skills. All right. Okay. It's very lovely. Thank you, Narisha. Okay. All right. I want to see. Let's take a bit of a poll. Thumbs up if you'd like to continue with functions. Thumbs down if we can try something else like probability. Up for functions, down for something else. I've got okay. Oh, sure. That's a tough poll. I didn't quite catch that. Did anybody catch that? Okay, can we do this quickly? Can we? I know some of you guys are okay with functions. I'm sorry. Okay. You look like a negative parabola. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to help. Okay. Can I then quickly leave? I'm going to leave this question on the screen for a little bit while I quickly go and snip a probability question, and then we'll come back and chat. All right. Okay. Yeah, I get that, Abu. I also used to love, well, I love maths in general, but yeah, trig was nice. Trig is still nice. Oh, guys, leave Abu alone. Okay, here we go. I've got a nice question here that we can have a look at. Let me take a screenshot. Sure, guys. I think every time I try to do something a little spontaneous, my the technology starts fighting with me, which isn't funny. I don't appreciate it. It's a sign. It's a sign. Narisha, I'm not sure what sign you mean. Hopefully a good sign, right? It must mean a good sign that you guys are it can sense that you guys are ready for maths, right? I beg to differ. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm only here to help, not hinder. I promise I'm here to help. All right, here's a nice question. Let's have a look at this question. Paste. Okay, let's read through the question together. Okay, it says here, for any two events, A and B, it is given that the probability of A is 0.25 and the probability of B is 0.89. Now, we know that we've got two events, A and B. How much should all probability, the probability of any events in the same trial, how much should the probabilities add up to? Yes, correct. Good, Sanele. They should add up to 1, right? I know that the probabilities should add up to 1. But if I look at the probability of A and the probability of B together, they're already greater than 1. So before I even start the question, if I can see that it's greater than 1, I already know that there's going to be an intersection. There needs to be something in the middle that we can subtract from both. I don't know why my handwriting looks so bad. Okay. All right, so I know that over here, there's going to be an intersection between the two because my probability cannot be greater than 1. All right. Okay. Okay, so this question says, oh, I'm not done actually. So the probability of A 0.25, the probability of B 0.89, and the probability of A or B apostrophe. What does the apostrophe mean? What does that little kapiki mean? Good, it means not. So the probability of A or B not is 0.05. Okay, let's look at question 7.1.1. Thumbs up. Are we able to answer this question ourselves? Are we okay here? Yes? Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave that one then. And then I want you guys to answer this one. 7.1.2. Are the two events mutually exclusive? Can we answer that one? Thumbs up. Can we answer that? Yes, quite easy. Okay. What about 7.1.3? Okay. And then 7.1. Okay. Gift says no. All right, we'll help you out there. Don't stress. Okay. I'll remind you guys that we have 2 rules that we need to know. Okay, that will help there. And then what is the probability of event B only? Okay, we can chat about that one. So I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to hash out these questions, and then we'll chat about it. Okay, so about 5 minutes, and then we'll chat about the answers. I'm done. Sanel is already done. How about everyone else? All right. Okay. Shall we start? Can I get started at 7.1? Okay, lovely. Right, so we are told here to calculate the probability of A or B. Now, if they've told us to calculate for the probability of A or B, and they've given us the probability of A or B not, then the probability of A or B is just going to equal 1 minus the probability of A or B not. So 1 minus 0,05, which is equal to 0,95. That's all. Okay. 0.95. Okay. I think I've already given 7.1.2 away. Okay. Okay, it says here, are the two events mutually exclusive? Tell me, guys, yes or no? Okay, I will explain in just a second. Okay, I think I should explain Kanyo and not just run off. All right. So let's say, for instance, I flip a coin, right? If I flip a coin, what are my two options, Kanyo? My options are either heads or tails. Okay. So if I know that the probability of heads is a half, and I know that the probability of tails is a half, are you okay with where I'm getting the half and the half? Yes? Good. All right. I know that the probability of all the possible outcomes in my space must add up to 1. Okay. So the probability of heads and the probability of tails must add up to 1. So a half plus a half will equal 1. half plus half will equal 1, right? So the probabilities must always add up to 1. Let me do this. Let's say we roll a dice, right? I know that I have 6 outcomes. Each of them, the probability of getting a 1 is 1 over 6. The probability of getting a 2, 1 over 6, and so on and so forth. And if I add all the 6 of them up together, 6 times 1 over 6 will give me 1. Is that okay, Kanya? Are you still with me? Yes? Excellent. All right. Now let's think about this. If I said to you, I roll a dice, what's the probability? The probability of not getting a 2. Well, my probability of not getting a 2 is either 1 or 3 or 5 or 6. 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. That'll be 5 over 6. Yes? That's just the same as 1 minus the probability of actually getting 2, which is also 5 over 6. So the not of something. So if they give us the probability of A not, I know that the probability of A plus the probability of not must always equal 1, because everything together must equal 1. So if they give me the probability of not, and I want the probability of A, I can just take the probability of A not and move it that side, like an equation. And that would mean that the probability of A is just 1 minus the probability of A not. Okay, does that make sense, Kanya? Excellent. So when they tell us here that they've given us the probability of A or B not, the way we're going to find the probability of A or B is to take the 1, that is the whole all of the outcomes together, minus the 1 that we have. Okay, and that's how it works. Excellent. Excellent. Cool. Cool beans. I'm glad. All right. So let's look at 7.1.2 quickly. It says, are the 2 events mutually exclusive? Now, mutually exclusive are things like odd and even numbers. Okay. I can't be both an odd number and an even number at the same time. So if I were to draw a Venn diagram, all the odd numbers will be in their own circle and all the even numbers will be in their own circle, right? They won't be able to touch. Okay, unless you're 0. Okay, yeah, we're not counting 0 in this case. Okay, let me say all positive odd numbers. Does that help? So from 1 onward. Okay, so when they say, are the 2 events mutually exclusive? The answer is no. It'll have to be no. How do I know that they're not mutually exclusive? Because it has an intersection. Beautiful short stuff. Good, because we've already established that the probability of A and the probability of B together are greater than 1, which means that we need to subtract somewhere, and that subtraction is usually the intersection. So no, because the probability of A plus the probability of B is greater than 1. Okay, we can write it out like that. Okay, or you could even say there is an intersection because the probabilities, the sum of the probabilities must be the same. Mutually exclusive is discrimination, yeah, but then, I mean, everybody belongs to their own circle, Narisha, so let's not think of it like that. All right. Okay, let's look at 7.1.3. Now, for us to calculate for things like this, we need to remember the 2 rules. We have the multiplication rule and we have the addition rule. So now, just to remind you, the AND rule says that P and intersection B is equal to the probability of A multiplied by the probability of B. Okay, and then the probability of A union, which is OR, the probability, this is and that is OR, the probability of the union of A and B is going to be the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. Oh, other way around. Intersection B. Okay. All right, so we want and, which means we're going to use the multiplication rule. Can I ask you guys to drop your answers in the chat for me? What answer are we going to get? Short stuff gets 0.2. What about everyone else? Okay, Abu says yes. Okay, yeah, I get the same answer, right? So I'm just going to go, the probability of A is 0.25 multiplied by the probability of B, which is 0.89. And that is equal to, it says 0.2225. So we can just, maybe let's just cap it at 2 decimals because they also use 2 decimals there. So we're just going to cap it at 0.22. Okay. Okay, now here's an interesting one. 7.1.4. 7.1.4 says, what is the probability of event B only? Event B only. Okay. Now, where do we normally see the word only when we're talking about probability? When we're drawing what? What are we normally drawing when we use the words only?
By drawing a Venn diagram.
Absolutely, my darling. That's it. We are drawing a Venn diagram. So if we want to figure out B only, we're going to have to construct a quick mini Venn diagram in order for us to understand exactly what's going on. So I'm going to remind you guys. I've got 2 events, circle and a circle, right? One of them is A, one of them is B. Now, there are a couple of things we already know because we've just calculated for them. We know that the intersection, the probability of A and B is 0.22. 0.22. We've just calculated for that. Right. Let me ask you now. Give me a thumbs up. I know that the probability of A is 0.25. Can I then just do that? Can I do that? Yes or no? Sanela says no.
No.
Okay. Bukanya says no. Can anybody explain to me why we say no? Yes, absolutely. Not because it has to equal to 1 short stuff. Sanel is onto something. Okay, let's think about this. They said to us that the probability of A, the whole of A, is 0.25. Now, if I look properly, the whole of A is that. That whole thing must equal 0.25. Okay, so what do we know so far? We know that A already has 0.22 in it. So over here cannot be 0.25 because the whole thing needs to equal 0.25. So what is going to go there?
So, ma'am, aren't we going to add 0.22 with 0.25?
No, my darling. So the final answer we want is 0.25 because the whole of the circle must equal 0.25. So at the moment, I've got 0.22, which means I need to subtract from 0.25 to find that part. Okay, am I making sense? Yes? Okay, good. So I know that this part here will then have to be 0.03. Okay, and now we're going to have the same issue with B as well, because B says 0.89. That's what B must equal. But B already includes the 0.22. It also already includes the 0.22. So what goes there? .67, exactly. So over here, we'll get 0.67. Now, there it is. It says, what is the probability of event B only? We can see it from our mini Venn diagram, right? Our answer is going to be 0.89 minus 0.22, which is equal to 0.67. All right. Okay. Are we all good? Everyone okay here? Yes. Cool stuff. All right. Do we want to continue with this? Do we want to try something different? Okay. Something different. Okay, something new. Absolutely, Kanya, my darling. I'm here to help. Okay. What else would we like to go through? I can quickly snip it from the paper I've got. Exchange rates. Okay. Finance and growth. Okay, we can do finance. Something very, very easy. See, yeah, that was quite easy. I didn't think that it was that bad. I thought it was okay. Okay, let's do some finance. Okay. Just quickly gonna snip it. Okay, and we can do number patterns in just a second. Calculates on a calculator. You'd be surprised, Larisha. People actually do that. Like when you get to like your matric exam, you want to be so sure. You'll even put 1 + 1 and click equals in your calculator just to make sure. All right. So this is a hire purchase question, and it's also an investment question. Are we okay with this? Thumbs up. Are we able to answer this question on our own? Thumbs down if we're going to need a bit of help. Okay, Kanya says yes. Okay, we can talk through that. Everyone else, have a look at the questions and answer. Right. Okay, so Bikanyo, you and I are going to read through the question and we'll take it from there. Okay, so it says here, Amy needs a new computer. This computer costs 7,990. Amy does not have the full amount of money available, so she decided to enter into a hire purchase agreement. Let me just ask quickly, hire purchase is calculated over what kind of interest? Do we know that at least? Yes? Okay. They're not going to tell you that. You need to know that. Okay. You need to know that hire purchase is over simple interest. Okay. Then you need to know the simple interest formula. Okay, so we also need to know A is equal to P open brackets 1 + I times N. We must know that. Okay. All right. Then it says the terms of the agreement are as follows. We've been given 15% per annum in simple interest. So I, we know that's I. And then it says 48 monthly payments. Now, that doesn't tell us much because N isn't the number of months, it's the number of years. Good. So we need to first convert this into years. Good. So 48 divided by 12 will give us an N of 4. Okay. And then it says there's a monthly processing fee of 13 Rand 50. Now, that is quite tricky. Think about what's happening here. We know that we need to determine the monthly payable fee, the monthly amount payable, including interest and fees. Okay, we're going to calculate the simple interest on this, but there's a bit of a catch at the end. So let's start by using the information we've been given. This is our P. Let's start by using the information we've been given and calculate for A, please. Drop your answers in the chat when you're ready. Okay. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Abu. I'm glad you appreciate that it's a 5 free marks. I don't see how, Narisha. I don't see how that's possible, but that's okay. We can do it together. All right. So first we're going to figure out how much she already owes this place where she's buying this computer. So A equals 7990, open brackets, 1 plus the interest rate is 15%, or you could punch 15 over 100 in your calculator. Both of those will work. Multiply that by 4. Okay. All right. So in the end, I can't see your answer. I don't know what's going on with my thing. Okay, hold on. 1 plus 15% times 4. Sorry. So that's 12,000 Rand, 784. Okay. Now, I just want to check, Abu. Did you then take this amount and divide by 24? I mean, sorry, and divide by 48. Is that what you did? Yes? Okay. Right. You're not wrong. Let's see if we take that number and we divide by 48. I just want to check. Do we all know why we are taking this amount and dividing it by 48? Yes? No? Okay. All right. So if the computer is now, we know that it costs 7,990, but on loan it's going to cost you more because you need to pay interest. So you're going to be paying 12,784, but you're not paying it once off. You're paying it every month for 48 months. So we want to find out how much you have to pay per month. Does that make sense, Picanho? You okay with that? If you're paying it for 48 months, it makes sense that we divide that by 48 and we get an answer. Okay, so the answer that we get is 266. It is kind of like accounting. It is. Okay. Abu, why are you saying that you've got 252? I don't see 252. I'm getting 266. Can someone check my calculations for me? Okay, so I get 266, comma 33. Good, comma 33. But don't forget, guys, that they also tell you that every month you must pay a monthly processing fee of 13 Rand 50. So we must now then take this amount and add to it a monthly processing fee plus 13 Rand 50. Okay. And that will give us the answer that we're looking for. Yeah, see, Abu, I'm like, yeah, you did the right things, but your answer didn't come out exactly the way that it needed to. There we go. So how much is the final amount that they'll pay every month for the next 4 years? 279 Rand and 83 cents. Okay. Easy enough? Yes, thumbs up. Are we okay with this? Cool. Okay. All right, let's have a look at 6.2 quickly. I want you guys to read through it and tell me if you'll be able to answer it. Thumbs up if you will. Thumbs down if you're like, no, ma'am. Okay, Theo's okay. Buikanyo's okay. Katao, I see the hand. I'm sure it means I can do it. Okay.
No, ma'am, I actually have a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So I'm writing maths on Friday. So there's
Okay.
this part of finance that we did in class that actually involved like insurance and deposit. So I was wondering if like we could do it like today because I know how to get the deposit. I just don't know how to calculate for the insurance.
For the insurance. Okay. Do you have a particular question that you could read for me? That you could just read for me and then we'll chat about it, because if I don't see the question, I might not be able to help you. Okay. So maybe let's quickly get this question out of the way and then you read me that one and then you and I can have a chat about it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Right, my darling. Let's finish up 6.2 and then Katlero's going to give us a nice, interesting question to do. Okay. I want to see if you guys are going to catch. There's a bit of a catch in this particular question here. I'm wondering if anybody will catch on to it. Not really. Not really. Okay. Oh, actually, since it is compounded, yeah, it seems like, yeah, really, as is. Oh, well, Abu, your teachers are being lazy because like this is the 2022 paper. This is one of the provincial papers, 2022. But it's fine. We all steal from each other. Yes, it was. I'm sorry, Sia. We all have those days. Are we ready, guys? Can we have a look at this question? I don't think it was that difficult. We just had to calculate very, very strategically. Now, I want to see if you guys have caught onto the trick that they've added into this question. I want you guys to pop your answers in the chat for me. Pop your answers in the chat. How much did you get? Okay, and I'm going to prove a point because the way that the English in maths gets kind of techie is very, very interesting. Okay. Oh, yes, Anela, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. So I'll put my email on the screen maybe, and you can send them to me, and then I'll broadcast them. I'll put them on our classroom. Okay. Anybody got an answer for me? Okay. 14. Okay, that's 1,424,000. Okay. I expected that. I expected that. All right. So let's read the question quickly because ma'am's answer doesn't quite look like yours. Ma'am's answer says 1,186,000. 86,881. Let me guess. Everybody did this. In order to find n, you took 60 minus 29 and you were like, n is equal to 31. And off you went. A is equal to 5,000, open brackets, 1 plus 20% to the power of 31. Right? Yes, thumbs up. Is that what we did? Yes? Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. If I'm born today, let's say I am born today, it's the 13th of November, I am born today. When is 2024. When is my next birthday? When is my next birthday? No, it's going to be the 13th of November, 2025, right? So between these two dates is 1 year, right? So now let's go and think about what's happened here. On John's 29th birthday, he puts money into an account. Now, off he goes until he turns 30, until he turns 60. On the day that he turns 60, that year hasn't gone by. The year has not gone by. He just turned 60, which means it's actually a 30-year gap and not a 31-year gap because he turned 30 today. Does that make sense? Yes? Because in order for me to be one, if this is my birth date, in order for me to be a year old, I have to wait for the whole year to end. So John just turned 60, which means the year hasn't gone by. The year has not gone by. So my n is not 31. My n is actually 30. So they were going to... That's very important that we pay attention. Okay. The wording in finance is quite tough. Okay. So this should be to the power of 30. And that's how ma'am gets 1,186,881 and 57 cents. Okay. Very funny, Narisha. Okay. I did. Okay. I was hoping somebody would catch on. I didn't set you up. I wanted you guys to make sure that you're reading the question properly. But I was gonna explain it, Theo. I did. I explained